grotesquely violated skeletons discovered recently in Ireland have thrown new light onto our ever-growing obsession with vampires and our fear of the undead.
This burial was very obviously treated in a violent and aggressive fashion.
This is probably the most extraordinary deviant burial I've ever seen. I think the message is still the same. It's a very determined attempt to keep this person down.
Archaeologists are now investigating why these bodies were subjected to such violence. The answer may lie in horrors that have haunted us for centuries.
Milo, 25 years old, also showing signs of the condition of vampirism mentioned.
There was this intense fear of vampires and revenants, people coming back from the dead and haunting the living.
They were basically corrupting corpses that had kind of escaped from their graves and wandered about.
The Irish skeletons can help us understand our ancient terror of the undead and even where it comes from. To explain these shocking burials, archaeologists must unlock clues from mysterious medieval texts and harness modern forensic technology. The story will even take us to a terrifying 21st century case in Romania. The mountains and lakes of Western Ireland have long been seen as a land of mystery, haunted by fairies and magic. In 2004, archaeologists began an excavation in a little-known area called Kilteashen that would open a window onto our darkest fears. They were searching for a medieval bishop's palace dating from the 12th century. Chris Reed is one of the directors of the project.
When we started excavating, we were hoping or anticipating that this was possibly the location of this bishop's palace. And we couldn't have been more wrong.
They began to excavate underneath the flagstones of a ruined building near the Lost Palace.
When we lifted up the stones themselves in here, we literally had faces looking back at us, which had been crushed flat by the floor, indicating that whoever built this building at whatever time period knew that they were building directly on top of human remains, which is quite a dark and gloomy kind of thing to do. Within this quite small area, literally about 3 meters by 3 meters, we excavated somewhere between 30 and 40 skeletons, literally stacked one on top of another in quite shallow graves.
This was just one of a series of remarkable discoveries. The team made more cuttings into a raised burial platform in the field. Each was filled with bodies.
Based upon where these cuttings are actually located, the density of burials and their depth, and if we sort of assume that all the areas in between are similarly filled with burials, we're probably looking at a total burial population of between 2,500 and 3,000 people, which makes it a very, very, very substantial cemetery.
Late one morning, Chris was called over to see a new skeleton emerging from the earth.
This skeleton in particular was clearly treated in a very violent and aggressive fashion. Visually, it's quite striking, particularly the legs, the way they've been twisted and bent back up around the stone. It's really disturbing, and it's also shocking as well, but it also makes it very interesting.
It seems that this large boulder was deliberately placed in the grave to deform the skeleton. Professor Mark Horton has excavated hundreds of medieval burials, and he is astonished by the find.
I've never seen anything so extraordinary. You could actually do this naturally. It's as if this person has been broken into many bits and they're bound together into a great bundle of flesh. The spinal column would have come round here, round underneath the chest, back round, and then the pelvis must have been here. It's almost as if they'd broken the body up, bound it in such a way that it couldn't possibly ever come back to life again. In my entire archaeological career, I've never ever seen anything quite like it.
As they dug further down into the layers of burials, there were more remarkable finds.
On archaeological sites, the best part of the excavation is when somebody shouts out loud, "I found something," you know, everybody come look. And as the skeleton was being uncovered, it was very, very clear that, yeah, there was this large stone stuck in the mouth. Visually, it's a very dramatic sort of image.
None of the team had ever found anything like it before. But then there was another discovery.
You always expect to find something unexpected on an excavation, but then when we found a second one, and in the exact same area, we knew we had something that was special.
But why were these bodies treated with such violence after they were already dead?